The Maine House unanimously voted in favor of a bill that would require motorists to remove ice and snow from their vehicles before driving. Representative Bruce White of Waterville is sponsoring the legislation. It's called an act to require that motor vehicles be cleared of snow when operated on public ways. White says the proposed law would enhance public safety and provide accountability and prevent deaths, injuries, and damage to vehicles. Drivers of passenger vehicles found to be in violation would face fines starting at $50 for first-time offenders and up to $250 for additional offenses. The bill would also require larger vehicles and trucks to address snow and falling ice. The bill still faces additional votes in the House.